so we're good.
We are live. Can everybody please silence their phone?
Good point, good point. Admit it. What?
You would have two phones.
I can get the third, but I really don't like to carry that.
One's for your village.
Yes.
Who is going to say the first statement, the chairman is absent, please select board member? And we know it's Bill. Scott,
Sure.
do you want to? When
Sure.
it's 7:30. It's 7:29.
Yeah, you don't do, no,
Don't, I don't know, they told me. these
wait
people-
for it.
They told me that we start at this.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, it's 7:30.
7:30. The chair is absent, please elect a board member with the most seniority at the beginning of the meeting as per rules of the meeting procedure adopted and effective on January 9, 2024.
It's,
Is there a motion for Mr. Olson to serve
I
as
move-
acting chair?
To elect Mr. Olson as acting chair tonight,
okay,
as senior member.
I'll
thank you.
second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. Thank you.
You're on.
Come on. So, good evening. Today is July 8th, 2025. It's 7:30. I'd like to call the Village of New York Planning Board to order. Our first order of business is pledge of allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kristen, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, Brian Barber,
Here.
Bill Olson,
I'm here.
Scott Brown,
I'm here.
Vanessa Holland,
Here.
Carrie Boland,
Here.
and Jesse Gallo, our chairman, is absent today.
Okay.
And Liz Cassidy, our attorney, and Jane Samuelson, our alternate and planning board engineer, is here in Keith Woodruff's absence.
Okay, next order of business is the minutes of last meeting of June 10th. Everybody had a chance to read the minutes, approve the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Scott? Second?
I second.
Okay. Call the order, call the vote. All in favor? Okay, 1, 2,
I have to abstain, I wasn't there either. You got three though.
we have 3.
Yes.
Okay. So there's one application on the agenda tonight.
25.
Hmm?
25 bucks.
It's, there's your agenda. If you record your folder.
The application of Amy and Smith and Tim Smith for a site plan addition on 25 Park Avenue. You want to come forward, please?
Yes.
Should we sit? Yes. You
Yes.
can sit.
Tim and Amy Smith, they live at 25 Park Ave.
We have comments from our attorney?
The property is located in the R zoning district. Single-family homes are permitted use and fall under use group B. I note and concur with the comments of Keith Woodruff dated June 6, 2025, and that's, Mr. Woodruff reviewed this before the applicant requested an adjournment. The proposed addition requires site plan approval because it does not comply with the bulk table, and that's under 195-91 subsection 1. The proposed addition will require an area variance. reducing the side yard setback from 20 feet to 7.4, a variance of 12.6 feet. A public hearing is required, see section 145-93. Applicant shall mail notice of public hearing at least 10 days before the public hearing to property owners within 300 feet of the site. Seeker, this action is a type 2 action, see 6 NYCRR 617.5C11, and no further environmental review is required. The application is not subject to GML 239 review. The subject site is a corner lot pursuant to 145-54. The applicant to designate which yard, I think I can figure it out, but it has to be shown on the plans. Which yard is the side yard and which yard is the rear yard, and note such designation on the site plan. At present, it appears it is the intention of the addition to be located in the side yard. The building inspector did confirm the garage is a pre-existing nonconformity via email to me, and the reason I raised that is 145-62 requires a separation of 15 feet between the principal and accessory structures. So I wanted to make sure, since we were adding an addition, that that didn't be an issue. Provided that the proposed addition does not increase the existing nonconformity, the variance from 145-62 will not be required. Applicant and engineer to confirm. The next recommended action is recommended referring to the zoning board of appeals, and in conformity with Keith's comments, subject to the confirmation that the proposed development coverage does not exceed 35%.
Anybody have any questions? Question for the attorney? Put it right here.
Okay. So the detailed site plans show that they're gonna construct a single-story 12 by 30 addition on the southern side of the dwelling. We already talked about the proposed separation is only gonna be 7.4 feet from the southerly property line. Talked about it being in the R zoning. It is also not within the historic district or within a FEMA floodway or floodplain, so that's good. The single one-family residents are permitted use within the R zoning, and should utilize the group B for the bulk requirements. So that's the first comment, is a bulk table listing group B should be added to the site plans that details the existing and proposed dimensions, conforming with the zone. The limit of the front, rear, and side yard setbacks for the property line should be added to the plan, so just dimensioning where each one of those lines are around the property. The depth of the proposed addition should be added to the plans. I think the length is listed, but not the depth.
Okay.
The development coverage of the property needs to be listed for both the existing and the proposed conditions, because it is limited to 35% of the property, so we just need to confirm that. An area variance will be required from the ZBA for the proposed encroachment into the side yard. Confirm that the proposed addition will not impact any underground utilities, so make sure that there's no water, gas, or sewer that'll impact, and just provide a note stating that none are there, if there aren't any. Existing fence on the property currently terminates on the south side of the dwelling in the location of the proposed addition. So if there's any modifications to the fence, that should be shown on the plan as well.
It will be gone.
Yeah, I mean, most of it, it's possible that that one last section could be, connect to the outside end of the home.
Okay.
That's what Charlie mentioned.
And then the final thing is just include a approval box on the plan so that
Right.
they can sign it when the time comes.
Do they need a location map on the map also? Now, I know where exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it
You should,
probably wouldn't hurt. I know it's getting a little tight, but I think they could probably put a little location map on the top, just a zoom out to show in the village where.
In the village where it's located.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we're working with John McGloin did the last survey update, so we're working with him on, all of these items to get them updated.
Great, yeah, he should be very familiar with all this stuff, so, but if he has any questions, you can give us a call.
Yeah.
What I would suggest, if it meets with the board's pleasure, is we've had a couple of applicants at our last meeting that had similar applications where they were also subject to ZBA. You have two choices. You can make the applicant go fix the plans, go back to another meeting, and then refer to the ZBA. Or what we did with those other two applicants, which I would suggest is appropriate here, is refer subject to receipt of a revised plan. That way, John would submit the updated plan to Keith. Keith could confirm the extent of the variances, and that way we accomplish that referral in this meeting versus requiring two meetings. As you're aware with these types of applications before the ZBA, given the structure of our code, the applicant unfortunately is in the position of two public hearings versus one. So they will also have the meeting schedule with the ZBA that they will have to contend with. So I have no objection to that process. You are also welcome if you wanna see it before you refer it. That's your call.
Keith will look at it and decide what the requirements for the ZBA.
Well, he will look to make sure that all of these changes that he's listed have occurred before it gets sent
And he'll
on to the
confirm, he'll confirm the variance is, once the bulk table is on, Keith will say the variance needs to be the 7.4. There may or may not be a variance for development coverage without the measurement, I can't tell. So he can confirm that. I see that as a technical issue. I don't see, there isn't going to be any revisions to the layout of the site. So the board has a picture of what's gonna be done, it's just purely are the dimensions shown on the plan. Sometimes if they're like, oh, well, we're gonna move the addition around to make it better, you might say, okay, let's see that first, but in this case, the changes are technical in nature. So I have no objection, we did that for the last two applicants, at our last meeting. If the board, so again, the two variances at issue are the side yard setback. Right now I have it listed at it's 20 feet to 7.4, that's a variance of 12.6. And then potentially development coverage if it exceeds 35%.
I move that we refer the applicants to the ZBA pending an updated plan as requested by the engineer.
I'll second.
Okay. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye.
Now, do we have to have the ZBA's response before we schedule our?
Correct.
Do two
So
public
they're going
hearings?
to, yes, they're gonna go to the ZBA. Now, the good news is this is a type 2 action, so we are not in the coordinated review where we're waiting for seeker to be done. It's gonna be a type 2 action for the ZBA as well, because it's an area variance on a single family house. So that eliminates one complicating factor, so we don't have the ping pong effect. They're gonna go to the ZBA, they're gonna hear from the ZBA. If the ZBA grants the relief or some relief that they can live with, they'll have their public hearing with the ZBA. Assuming the ZBA grants relief, they would then come back here, we would finalize the site plan. But again, we don't have the ping pong where we have to do all of seeker, get that finished. We don't have a coordinated review like we've had in some other applications. Because again, it's de minimis pursuant to the seeker regulations and it's a type 2.
But on timing, they'll need to go to the ZBA
Yes.
twice.
No.
Once to present and for a public hearing.
Usually, isn't there public hearing first, or do they present to schedule?
Scott's right, it's iffy. It's not necessarily that they'll just go once, it depends, because my next applicant, they're coming, they're presenting, and the public hearing isn't being set, so they're going to have to come to another meeting, and then she'll set the public hearing, it's going to be more involved, so he's right,
Okay.
perhaps some,
Some
it
ZBAs
depends.
schedule.
Well, sometimes we do, but it depends.
Okay.
It's
Um,
not, it's what Scott said.
So just for a process perspective, and I don't represent the ZBA, so I can't advise you on the ZBA. As soon as Mr. McGloin finishes the revisions, send those to Keith. Keith will say, these are the variances. Then you can make your application to the ZBA, you'll go through that process. Once you get relief, you'll come back to us, we'll finish our process. So that's the timing. So don't run to Kristen to apply to the ZBA until Keith says these are the variances.
Okay.
All right.
So we don't need to take any action on seeker?
No, it's type 2.
Okay.
Is it possible for us to avoid having the applicants come back here again twice? One to schedule a public hearing and then to have a
No,
public
I'd
hearing?
let the ZBA process play out, because a couple of things, one, while I would hope it would be done in a meeting or two, I can't guarantee that.
Right.
And two, if the ZBA for some reason denies the application, which it might, and that's in the realm of possibility, we're then looking at an amended, they may either, the applicant would then have to amend their plan or, abandon their plan. So I don't wanna schedule until I know what the relief is of the ZBA at this point. That's fair.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I was wondering if the applicants want to speak about the project. Tell us a little about it.
Now that we went through all those motions.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Do you have the, those points?
From
That he,
the
what
letter?
he needs to, yeah. what
I do.
John McGowan, I thought they,
Yeah.
that we had those.
I have them here. Yeah.
And I have a picture of, and at first I thought, oh, is this the before picture? What's the after picture going to be? But is that?
That's the after.
That is the after, yeah.
Here's the before.
Yes.
Oh, I
That's
see,
before,
okay.
there's nothing, there's a fence, I don't know if you can really see it, behind the bush.
Is the after one?
There was a fence.
Yeah, that's
That is the
That goes
after,
to the
yes.
fence, that's the property line,
Okay.
so that's,
There's a before.
That will be
That's-
the
that's
addition.
Because when I looked, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's very symmetrical.
Yeah.
What are
that's
they
why we
doing?
decided to try
It's a
to
rendering.
Yeah,
so
so
do
it's
it there.
Oh, there it
because-
is, there it is, without the.
Oh, yes,
That's your
right.
current house.
Yeah, that's it
It's
currently.
behind it.
Okay.
Here's the current.
Yeah, that's,
And then-
the current's up on the screen.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
and then the one with the little side,
Mhm.
and that's what we're
It's a
shooting
very good
for.
rendering, you can't tell the difference.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Really
You
well
guys are
done.
getting rid of the shrubbery?
No. When they come through, I'm gonna say,
Not
please
a
try
very
not to
big-
kill the
big sign
giant
about it.
rhododendrons that have been there forever.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
like, and he's going,
We'll
I
move
said,
them.
I'm gonna call a guy to, see if we can save them.
Yeah.
I mean, that one. On the other,
can.
there's two more of those giant,
Here.
the trunks are like
Yes.
this.
Mhm.
We've only been there a year, so I don't wanna lose
Yeah.
that bush, but.
Yeah, it's old.
Yeah, he took it out of the picture and I was like, I don't think that's going, it's bigger than the addition, but that's okay.
So I think we have a path forward, and certainly you'll be reviewing that as part of your, site plan review. There, in terms of site plan, there's not gonna be too terrible heavy of a lift if the ZBA grants the relief. So,
Do you anticipate any objection from the neighbor?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. You know, the side goes to, our neighbor who we shared this with. And, I think we have reasonable sign on it. You know, I think there's processing it frankly. But you know, because it's a change for them. They've been there for a long
Yeah.
time.
Their house is,
But I think
there's
they're,
sorry.
we showed them roughly where it would be, and I think there's a good comfort level there.
But that's a neighbor here, and then there's Barry Cheney's house here.
Yes,
Yeah.
this neighbor to the left that you can't see, there's a giant oak tree that's theirs
Mhm.
that will block, it blocks a lot of the end of the house anyway, and then their fence goes through and it's about, how tall is that fence?
Not tall, not tall.
Terry's house,
It's
Yeah.
6 foot, it's
It's-
fine.
8 feet?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's 6 foot.
6
yeah,
foot.
but it's got bushes around it, so they
Sure.
won't, I don't, in my opinion, I don't think you'll be looking at something, there's a tree and a fence, so
Yeah.
the end of our house will still be the end of the house, it'll just be out a little.
This is your fence.
Uh,
This is your fence, right?
no, that's the neighbor's
Yeah.
fence. They put it
There's a fence here. And here.
Right, this
Oh, no.
is the,
Cheney's.
That's the Cheney's
this is
fence,
the Cheney's
yeah.
fence.
Okay.
And this is the Gleason's fence.
Ah,
They're over here.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, I think we don't need making motion, do we?
We just already made the only motion you can make,
Very good.
so.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
So I guess there, your next move is,
Who's making the motion? I'm sorry.
You want me to motion to adjourn?
No, what,
I already made the other motion about it
No,
already.
no.
But
No,
Bill's
whenever you
about
guys,
to, I
if you
think.
guys are ready, like, I
think
don't
Bill
wanna.
is finishing a thought,
Yes,
though.
exactly, I didn't wanna interrupt because you were finishing your thought.
now I lost my thought. Well,
About next steps.
Motion to adjourn?
well, no,
Second.
no.
All those in
There wasn't
favor?
my official,
You
yeah,
can't say
okay.
that, you
Sorry.
can't say that out loud and not have it be recorded. It's been seconded, so
So again,
you're in.
just to summarize what's gonna happen, the next steps, and to maybe put a period at the end of that thought, is the applicant is gonna work with John McCloy to make the changes, both in my memo as well as Keith's.
Mhm.
Once those changes are made, John McCloy's gonna give that to Keith, Keith is gonna sign off on, these are the variances you need. Once you have that information, you can go to Kristen at Village Hall, make your application to the ZBA. That'll be processed in the ordinary course before the ZBA, and once you, assuming you're granted relief, you will then come back to us for site plan approval, once you have that relief. If you don't have that relief, then, either amendments to the plan or we'll have to reconsider the application. So, that's the process for now. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Kristen, but please wait till Keith said these are the variances, so you have that information to put in on the application.
Kristen, what's the timing on the next CBA meeting? I think you get to,
That they can get to, all depends, it's the end of August. So,
August 26th, I think.
yeah, so if you, it all depends if you can get the application in 3 weeks before. So that's the problem.
We're looking at the dates,
Right.
so we need to get this
You need to
completed.
push, you need to
We need to
push
push on
John,
this.
and yeah, poor John,
I send this to.
I called him on another file
Does he send it
today.
directly
Yeah, it's
to
busy.
Mr. Woodrow?
he can,
Okay.
he can.
Okay.
Okay.
You've got a motion, it's seconded.
we have a motion to adjourn. Anybody,
It's been seconded.
seconded? Ruth?
Who said it first? Vanessa? Oh, Scott did?
Vanessa.
Okay, and who said it second?
Yeah.
And I seconded it.
Okay,
Thank you, Bill.
okay,
Thank you.
so,
Thank you.
so this is the only thing that I would say. So,
Are we? Hard to walk.
no, we're not.
I know.
No, we're not.
Because I'm the type of guy.
I know.
When, so I would rather